Hi, in this video we are going to talk about the difference between the levels and curves in Photoshop. There are so many videos available which talks about the levels and curves, and there are so many good videos as well. So this is another video which which talks about the levels and curves. I hope you get some idea about the levels and curves by watching this video. Okay, for that I'm just opening one image which is a image which we can create. You can also create, what I have done is I have just given the colors in the range from black to white. So what I have done is I have just set a color, let's say 0 0 0. So it should be black, RGB 0. So what I'm doing is I'm just selecting the brush and reducing the size. Otherwise I can just use the paint bucket tool, and with the black color I'll just paste the black color. So similarly that's how I just made this set of colors. So from black to white, and black to red, black to green, black to blue, and yellow, CMY, magenta, and cyan. So these are the colors that I have set, and if you look at the pixels, I'm just I'm having the info selected, so I can see the what is the pixel value here in this info channel. So if I just move the cursor here in black, it shows us it just look at here, the RGB value is 0, and what is the color that I have given here is I just added 50 50 50 for all the colors, and then here I added 100, and then I set to 126, 127, 128, 150, 200, 250, 255. 255 is the maximum color. So similarly for the red color, I just gradually reduced it. So for the green as well, I have just done the same thing, and for the blue and yellow, magenta, cyan, so I've done the same thing. If you look at here, that yellow is a combination of red and green. So what I have done is from the black color, I have just set 50 50 for red and green, and just gradually increased it, and till it reaches the 255 value. So that's how I designed it. It's very simple image which you can also create. So now let's get into the subject of what is the difference between the levels and curves. Okay, so I don't want to disturb my original image, so I'm just going and creating a copy of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to compare how this levels and curves behaves. Okay, and so what I'm doing is I'm selecting the image, and I'm going to the image adjustment, and we have levels and curves. Okay, so for that I have done a mapping of how this levels and curves and levels works in a combination of different values. So let me get into this video. So this is a color that I have actually in the original image. So what I'm doing is I'm just opening the levels and the curves, and I'm not doing any changes. This is a default setting that I have. So if you look at the default settings, the minimum value of this particular cursor, it's shown the left side, and there's a one middle cursor is there, and the other one we have at the right. So if you look at the curves, we will see a diagonal line, which is shown in the diagram. So if you look at the Photoshop, I'm just going and doing the same thing. So I'm going to the levels, I'm saying the default setting, it's a default setting. So that's how it works. And if I go to the curves, and this is what it works. So now if I do say changes, with the levels and curves, how it behaves. Okay, so that's what we are going to understand, and mapping and understanding, comparing these two. So let me get into the next one. So here, I have done some changes, and the picture has completely, it's different now. So this is the output that I get when I try to move in the levels. If I try to move the cursor at the left to center, okay, and I get the same output in the curves when I drag this cursor from here left to middle. Okay, so that's what I'm getting. So let me do that in Photoshop once again. So I'm going to the levels first. What I'm doing is I'm just just look at this black spot. If this is in black color, this is in white color, this is in gray color, it will give you a hint what level it's going to do. So since it says black, if you see the color, if I just try to drag this, I'm seeing that it tries to make the colors to black. Okay, I will explain what is exactly it's doing. So just look at this black. When I touch this black, okay, and if I move towards right, it converts the picture into the black. So now what is the value when you look at? So now see this, the first row is it's already 0, so there is no change. So I'm just looking at the info channel. So since we have done some changes, now you're saying 10/0. That means 100/0, and 100 is the original color. Now it will become 0. That's what it's saying. So if you look at this, when I dragged this particular cursor from here to middle, it has almost changed half of the picture to black. So what happened is, it's almost in the 0. It's 128, which is a gray color, has almost become a value of 2. That means almost near to black. Okay, so if you look at the rest of the data also, it has reduced. So what I understand is, in levels, if I try to move the cursor from here to here, that is black, if I try to turn the color to black, the image actually tries to get into the black. And if I see that, gradually the values get reduced. For example, here, the whatever the value, 100 becomes 0, 50 becomes 0, gradually this pixels value get reduced. For example, here if you see 150, when you move this cursor to middle, it is almost now at the value of 46. And here if you see 200, it's almost become 145 now. So 250 becomes almost 245 now. But the surprising thing in levels is the 255 remains same. That's a difference which we are going to see in the curves. Okay, so what we have done is we have just moved this cursor from here to here, and I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to do the same thing in the curves now. Okay, what I have done is I have just moved from left to right. I'm also doing the same here, left to right, and I'm just moving it to the middle, exact middle. So if you look at the same image, I'm seeing the exact same output. So that means that you can always use curves whenever you want to use, instead of levels. If you want to use the levels, you can use it, but the same levels, whichever the adjustment you're doing, you can also do it in curves. So mostly if you have seen that experts, maybe most people will prefer curves, because anyway it is able to do whatever the levels is able to do. So now let's get into that. So now I can see that the same value here, but here everything looks same, output is same. See, this 255 is not reduced, but all the rest of the values which is not 255 has reduced. 250 becomes 245, 245, but 255 remains untouched, and 0 also remains untouched. Okay, so now what we will do is, I'm not going to explain everything here. I think this picture is enough. So now when I move this particular cursor from here to the right corner, then I found that this is an output that I get. That means everything became black except the white, red, green, blue, CMY, that is yellow, magenta and cyan. So these color remains untouched by the levels when I move this cursor from left to right. So just similar to the left to right, I am moving the cursor from here to the right corner, same in the curves as well. I'm also getting the same output. Okay, so and the levels, let's get into the levels in a different way. So what we are doing here is so now in the reverse side, I'm going to what I'm doing is from the right side, I'm moving the cursor from the right to the middle of the screen. Okay, and similarly, since I'm moving from this right to left, so what I'm doing is in the curves, I'm just dragging the cursor from the top to the middle, so I'm getting the same output. Okay, so and similarly, what I'm doing here is I have just dragged that particular cursor from right to the left corner, and in curves what I have done is I have just moved the cursor from the right to the left corner. I get this output. So if you look at the levels, when I move a cursor from left to right, everything turns black except the value which is 2555. So it remains untouched. And similarly, if I move the cursor from right to left corner, I see that everything becomes 255 and the value which is 0 remains untouched. Okay, so that is what it's actually we see when we use the levels. That is what I'm doing is I'm just horizontally moving. So whatever you're doing in the levels from on the horizontal line, okay, moving here left to right, right to left, I can do the same here as well, from left to right and right to left. I can do the same thing and I can get the same output which the levels is going to give. Okay, so that is what I am getting. So I'm just trying the last one. I'm going to the levels. What I'm doing is I'm just dragging, it's white color if you see. So what I'm going to do is I'm trying to make all the colors to 255. That is the aim. So what I'm doing is I'm just dragging this, gradually increasing the color, gradually increasing the color, and now when I reach at the left corner, I see that everything becomes 245. See, 150, 128 become 255, 128 becomes 255, 126 become 255, 100 becomes 255, everything becomes 255 now, except the 0. Levels don't actually increase the value or decrease the value if the pixel value is 0 or 255. That's it. Very simple. So if you don't want to actually, if you are working in a picture where you don't want to touch absolute value of 0 or 255, but still you want to do some adjustment, you can think of using the levels. That is horizontal movement. Okay. And going to the curves, I'm doing the same thing. What I'm doing is just look at the way that we are doing. We are just moving in the horizontal one. Okay, so just map it to the levels with the curves. You can just simply think, whenever I drag this in the horizontal method, that means I'm just working similar to the levels in the curves. Here also I'm doing the same one. So I'm just moving horizontally. So whatever the output that I expect in the levels, that's what I'm going to get in the curves as well. So it's a very simple to actually remember what we are doing. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just moving from the right corner to the left corner, So I know that it's just equivalent to the levels that adjustment, level adjustment. And what I'm doing is, in the levels adjustment, I'm just brightening the image to 255 by moving to the left corner, but I know that the value 0 will not be impacted. So what I'm done is I just moved to the extreme right corner, and I see that everything is 255 now, and whichever it's black, that is 0, remain untouched. So these are zeros, it remain untouched. These doesn't become 245. That's what. So if I move the cursor from here to here, everything which is not 255, I'm reducing the value to 0, and if the pixel value is 255, it remains the same. So everything which is not 255 is reduced gradually to 0, and the pixels which is already 255 remains 255. It doesn't get impacted. So I hope now you understand how you can map the levels and curves. If you don't need to use levels if you know how to use the same adjustment in the curves itself. Just the mantra is horizontal movement. That's it. In levels you cannot change the value which is 0 or 255. Okay, so I'm trying to make everything to black, but I cannot do anything if the pixel value is 255. I'm trying to make everything white, that is 255, but if the pixel value is 0, that is RGB anything, that pixel value doesn't increases to 245. Okay, so now we understand how the level works also in the curves. Now we will understand what is the speciality in the curves now. Okay, levels don't have that kind of facility, I guess. Maybe might be there, but I think curves is the best option which most of the people use. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a movement. I'm just going to use only the curves now. I'm going to use this particular line, the diagonal line. I'm going to move on the vertical side. I want to see what is the exact difference that I'm going to get. So here's an interesting one. So for example, here, by just moving the diagonal line from the left to the middle of the screen, okay, by moving up, so I see that the output looks almost kind of grayed out. Okay, when I move the cursor completely to the top of the screen from the left, I see that the entire image has become white. And similarly, from the diagonal line, if I move the cursor from the right top corner to the middle, if I just reduce it, I see that almost the picture has become a bit darker. If I reduce that particular cursor from the right top corner to the bottom right corner, I see that the entire image has become black. And here is another one. If I move the left bottom corner to the middle and the right top corner to the middle to make it a horizontal line, it's almost become grayed out. So what is the difference that you see when you move the cursor in the horizontal way, that is levels, and when you move it in the vertical line? So you can exactly understand the difference now. So what you see is, in levels, when you move the cursor from left to right or right to left, the pixel value which is 0 or 255 doesn't get impacted. Okay, but if you look at the curves, when you move the cursor from top to bottom, if you look at the entire image actually gets impacted. It's not one, it doesn't matter whether it's 0 or 255, it gives a equal priority, it reduces everyone. So that's how it works. So these are the different combinations that you can try and understand. So here what I have done is I have just in the diagonal line I just increased the that is I increased the left left bottom corner to the middle, and I completely move down the right the upper corner to the bottom corner. So I see that I'm getting at this image. So what is happening here is whenever I try to increase, so let me get into the curves now. So these are the adjustment that you need to understand. So when I move this cursor from in the levels in the curves that in the horizontal way, it is almost equivalent to the levels adjustment, and only thing is that the restriction is it doesn't adjust the value if the pixel value is 0 or 245. So if I move it, it actually makes everything to 245. Gradually it increases the value of each pixel, and here it reduces the value to 0. But if I move the cursor from here to the top corner, if I gradually move up, entire images gets brightened, irrespective of whether it's 0 or 255. So here this is again I'm reducing the value, so it's getting darker, it's getting darker, it's getting darker. If you look at even the white, pure red, green, blue, everything is getting reduced now. So if you look at, see, the 255 becomes 147 now by just moving here. So if you want to work on the entire picture irrespective of the pixel 0 or 255, you have to use the horizontal movement, vertical movement. So that's how you have to work on the levels and adjustment. Now if I just move down the entire image to the bottom, I made everything to complete black. So now if I move the cursor from here to the middle, I'm just brightening the image. Okay, so just play through that and you will understand so many things. So what I'm doing is I'm just increasing the color, and I'm darkening this one, I'm brightening this one. So here if I move here, if you look at this gradient, it shows that I'm going to brighten this color. So it's very visually it's helping you to understand what is actually it's doing. So if I gradually move this, it brightens the color. So overall the picture becomes brightened. But here if I just move the color, move this to black, the pure 255 doesn't get impacted. That's a difference. So hope you understand, and a little bit on how to use the levels and curves, and you can play with any images and you can try to reduce it. And also there are some other options, like here if you look at this particular the hand symbol, if you click on this, and if you just hold the mouse and just scroll down, move down the cursor, it becomes darker. Okay, so these are the other things that you can watch. There are so many videos available, you can definitely watch it out. And for example here I'm just brightening this color. See that pixel, whichever I'm trying to increase, I can specifically increase certain area. Okay, see, these are the other learnings that you can actually look at how these other icons works. But this video is just to help you understand what is a movement. This movement is just equivalent to the levels, and this movement is the additional facility that's given by the curves. And in levels you cannot actually change the absolute value, that is 0 to 255. But here in the curves, when you move the the top and bottom movement, up and down movement, you can actually overall the picture will become brightened or overall the picture will become darkened. Okay, thanks for watching.